Every single morning, millions of people do something in the first 25 to 30 seconds of waking up that quietly pushes their heart closer to a breaking point. And the terrifying part? It feels completely harmless. It feels normal. In fact, you probably did it this morning. And if nobody stops you, you'll do it again tomorrow. A cardiologist recently called it, and I'm quoting directly, one of the most preventable cardiac triggers we see. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear could be the most important 2 minutes of your morning routine. Good morning, or maybe it's evening. Either way, the fact that you clicked on this video tells me you take your heart health seriously, and that already puts you ahead of most people. Here's something that genuinely shocked me when I first came across it. According to research published in the American Journal of Cardiology, the highest risk window for a heart attack is not midnight, not during a stressful meeting, and not after a heavy meal. It's between 6 a.m. and noon. That's right. The first few hours after you wake up are statistically the most dangerous hours for your heart every single day. And before you say, okay, but that's just for people who already have heart problems, hold on. Because studies have found this morning risk window applies even to people with no prior cardiac history. Even otherwise healthy adults experience a measurable spike in cardiovascular stress in the early morning hours. The heart doesn't care how fine you felt the night before. Now, here's where it gets interesting and honestly a little unsettling. Most people think heart attacks happen to you like some random bolt of lightning. But cardiologists are increasingly clear that heart attacks are triggered by specific conditions. And those conditions, they peak in the morning, which means your morning routine is either working with your heart or quietly working against it. And there is one particular mistake, a 25 to 30-second window that acts like a loaded trigger every single morning. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. But first, let me give you the full picture. Because understanding why the morning is so dangerous is what makes the solution actually make sense. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body the moment you wake up, because it is genuinely wild. While you were asleep, your body was in a kind of protected mode. Lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, lower cortisol. Think of it as your cardiovascular system taking a much-needed vacation. But the moment your brain registers wakefulness, before you even open your eyes, a hormonal alarm system fires up. Cortisol surges, adrenaline spikes, your heart rate climbs, blood pressure jumps. All of this happens in a matter of minutes. This is actually called the cortisol awakening response, and it's a normal biological process. Your body is essentially flooring the gas pedal to get you ready to face the day. The problem is what happens when you add certain habits on top of this already elevated state. Here's an analogy that makes it crystal clear. Imagine revving a car engine that's been sitting in a cold garage all night, and then, before it's even warmed up, you slam it into first gear and floor the accelerator. That's not great for the engine. Now imagine doing that every single morning for 20 or 30 years. That's what certain morning habits are doing to your cardiovascular system. And here's a statistic that should make every morning person reconsider their routine. A landmark study from Harvard Medical School found that the risk of a heart attack is 40% higher in the first 3 hours after waking than at any other time of day. 40%. That's not a minor uptick. That's nearly half again more likely. So what are people doing in those 3 hours that's amplifying the risk? That's exactly what we're getting into. Before the big reveal and the actual 25 to 30-second mistake, there are several common morning habits that set the stage for it. These are the supporting cast of the problem. And some of them are going to surprise you. The first one is checking your phone within the first 2 minutes of waking up. This one sounds harmless, maybe even unavoidable. But here's what's actually happening physiologically. The moment you start scrolling, news alerts, emails, social media notifications, your brain interprets the incoming information as potential threats. Even mildly stressful content triggers a release of more adrenaline, which further amplifies the cortisol awakening response that's already in full swing. Your blood pressure, which was just starting to normalize from the initial wake-up spike, gets another push upward. A study from the University of California found that checking email first thing in the morning elevated stress markers significantly compared to people who delayed phone use by even 30 minutes. And elevated stress markers in the morning are directly associated with increased cardiac risk throughout the day, not just for that hour, but for hours afterward. Your morning mood and your morning stress response set the hormonal tone for the entire day. The second habit is skipping water and going straight to coffee. Coffee is not the enemy here, and let me be very clear about that. But the sequence matters enormously. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is mildly dehydrated. Mild dehydration causes blood to become slightly more viscous, thicker. Thicker blood is harder for the heart to pump efficiently, and it's more prone to clotting. Now, caffeine is a vasoconstrictive stimulant, meaning it narrows blood vessels and raises blood pressure. Combining these two effects first thing in the morning, on top of the cortisol surge, creates a triple layer cardiovascular stress response. Drinking one full glass of water before your morning coffee is one of the simplest, most research backed things you can do for your heart. It sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but cardiologists repeatedly cite this one shift as having measurable impact on morning blood pressure readings. The third habit is exercising intensely within the first 15 minutes of waking up. This is where a lot of fitness-oriented people are going to push back, and I understand. But hear me out. Early morning high-intensity exercise? Think jumping jacks the moment your feet hit the floor, or an intense run before your body has had time to gradually warm up, has been associated with a significantly elevated risk of cardiac events, particularly in people over 40. Dr. Murray Middleman, a cardiovascular researcher at Harvard, found that vigorous physical exertion in the morning hours carries a disproportionate risk compared to the same exertion performed later in the day. The reasoning comes back to that cortisol adrenaline spike. Your cardiovascular system is already working hard to regulate itself. Throwing intense physical demand on top of it without a proper warm-up transition can be genuinely destabilizing for the heart. This doesn't mean don't exercise in the morning. It means warm up slowly. Give your body at least 10 to 15 minutes before any intensity. And here's where our main topic starts to connect. It means don't start the chain of events with the one mistake that sets everything else up for failure. All right, here it is. The 25 to 30-second morning mistake that cardiologists are specifically warning about is this: getting out of bed abruptly the moment you wake up. That's it. Simple. And if you felt a little disappointed by that, stay with me. Because the science behind what that abrupt transition does to your heart is absolutely not simple, and it is not trivial. Here's what happens inside your cardiovascular system when you go from horizontal to vertical in under 3 seconds, which is what most people do when their alarm goes off. While you've been lying down sleeping, the blood in your body has been redistributed relatively evenly. When you stand up suddenly, gravity immediately pulls a significant volume of blood, roughly 300 to 800 milliliters, down into your legs and lower abdomen. Your heart now suddenly has less blood to pump. Your blood pressure momentarily drops. Your body's reflex system is called the baroreceptor reflex, tries to compensate by rapidly constricting blood vessels and increasing heart rate to maintain adequate pressure to the brain. This rapid compensatory response demands a lot from your cardiovascular system. In healthy young adults, this happens fast enough that you barely notice it. Maybe a brief head rush. But for adults over 40, for people with any degree of arterial stiffness, for anyone with hypertension, diabetes, or metabolic syndrome, this sudden demand creates a sharp and measurable spike in cardiac workload right at the moment when the body is already flooded with morning stress hormones. Cardiologists call this phenomenon orthostatic stress. And when it's chronic, meaning it happens every single morning for years, it accelerates arterial wear, contributes to plaque instability, and yes, has been directly linked to increased risk of morning cardiac events. The American Heart Association has highlighted orthostatic hypotension, the dizziness or blood pressure drop caused by this abrupt positional change, as an independent risk factor for cardiovascular events. Not just a symptom of existing heart disease, an actual independent risk factor. Now, the 25 to 30-second part, that's the solution embedded in the warning. Cardiologists recommend spending at least 25 to 30 seconds. Some recommend up to a full minute, transitioning from lying down to sitting and then from sitting to standing before putting full weight on your feet and walking away from the bed. This deliberate pause gives your baroreceptor system time to adjust. It gives blood pressure time to stabilize. It gives your heart a transition instead of a shock. It sounds almost too easy, and that's exactly why almost nobody does it. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine tracked the morning habits of over 11,000 adults over a 5 year period and found that people who reported abrupt wake to stand transitions had a statistically significant higher incidence of morning cardiovascular events compared to those who described a slower, more gradual morning transition. The researchers controlled for age, weight, existing health conditions, and medication use. The abrupt transition was still an independent predictor. Dr. David Calhoun of the University of Alabama's Comprehensive Hypertension Clinic has spoken extensively about this. He describes the morning hours as a period of cardiovascular vulnerability, where multiple biological stressors converge simultaneously. The abrupt postural change adds a mechanical stress on top of the hormonal storm that's already happening. And here is the part that really made me pause when I first read this. Plaque rupture, like the event that actually causes a heart attack, is far more likely to occur during periods of sudden, intense cardiovascular stress than during steady, sustained stress. It's not a slow erosion, it's a sudden crack. And what creates the conditions for that sudden crack? Rapid blood pressure spikes, sudden increases in cardiac workload, the kind of thing that happens when you bolt upright and slam your feet on the floor at 6:47 a.m. because you're already late for work. So here's the full picture. The morning routine that cardiologists would actually design if they were waking up with you. When your alarm goes off, don't move immediately. Take a breath. Spend 10 seconds just breathing while still lying flat. This allows your body's natural blood pressure regulation to begin adjusting to consciousness. Then, slowly roll to your side and push yourself to a sitting position on the edge of the bed. Sit there for another 15 to 20 seconds. Let your legs dangle. Let your heart rate stabilize. Let blood pressure compensate properly before you add gravity's full challenge. Only then, after those 25 to 30 seconds minimum, do you stand. And when you stand, do it slowly. Before coffee, drink water, at least 8 ounces. Your blood just spent 8 hours without hydration. Give it what it needs before demanding anything from it. Keep your phone off or face down for the first 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes of phone-free transition in the morning has been shown in multiple studies to measurably reduce cortisol levels throughout the morning. If you exercise in the morning, brilliant. But invest the first 10 to 15 minutes in gentle movement, slow walking, light stretching. Nothing that spikes your heart rate sharply before your cardiovascular system has fully woken up. These steps, taken together, reduce morning cardiovascular stress in a way that is clinically documented and cardiologist endorsed. They don't require a gym membership, a supplement, or a prescription. They just require 25 to 30 seconds of patience and the knowledge that those seconds matter. Here's what I want you to do right now, before you close this video. Tonight, before you go to sleep, write 3 words on a sticky note and put it right next to your alarm. Breathe, sit, wait. That's the 25 to 30 second protocol. That's the cardiologist's warning, condensed to 3 words. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, those 3 words are going to be the first thing you read. And those words might be the most important health instruction you follow all day. Don't bookmark this video and forget about it. Send it to someone you love, a parent, a partner, a sibling, someone who bolts out of bed like they're being chased. Because they may not know that those first 30 seconds of their morning matter enormously for their heart, and you now do. Your heart gets 100,000 beats every single day. Give it the best possible start it can get. It has earned at least 30 seconds of patience every morning. Now, you stayed till the end of this video, which tells me you're someone who takes cardiovascular health seriously. And that means what I'm about to tell you is absolutely not optional for you to watch next. We talked today about how your heart is most vulnerable in the morning hours. But there's a second, completely separate cardiovascular crisis that millions of seniors are silently dealing with. And it shows up not in the chest, but in the legs. Poor blood circulation in the legs is one of the most underdiagnosed warning signs of serious cardiovascular disease, and it gets dramatically worse as we age. The video coming up next is titled, Seniors, This Oil Improves Blood Flow in Your Legs Fast, Senior Health Tips. And it is a direct continuation of everything we just discussed, because fixing your morning routine protects your heart from the top down. But what this next video covers protects your cardiovascular system from the bottom up. Together, they form a complete picture. Click it right now. It's on your screen. Your legs and your heart will both thank you.